Just fair warning, this is going to be one of the more mystical, one of the more woo podcast episodes that I've ever had. And you know what? There's been a part of me. I'm a very spiritual guy, and what I'm talking about is I know that what I have witnessed in my own life and the lives of others that I work closely with is we create more in the unseen world than we do in the seen world, in the spiritual world than we do in the physical world. The physical world is just let's say what you see and what you experience in the physical world, in the material world, is just the results of what you've already created in the spiritual world. And the spiritual world, I'm not talking about, angels and freaking God and, Sky Daddy. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about, any of that. I'm talking about the spiritual world is really what's going on inside of your mind and what's going on inside of your body, like your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs. What's happening inside of your body is a very spiritual experience. It's spiritually how you're experiencing the world. The material world and the physical world is really what you see, and those are outcomes of what's happened inside of your mind and body. Now, I like to say there's no such thing as a victim. You attract who you are. You attract what's inside of your mind and body. And your expectations, your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions are always pulling things into your life's experience. And some people go from struggle to struggle to struggle to struggle, and they think that the world's doing it to them. But what's really happening is somewhere in their belief system, somewhere in their expectations, somewhere in the inside of them, what's happening inside of their mind and body, they're pulling those things into their experience. Have you ever noticed someone be a serial divorcee and they keep marrying the same person, and then they keep blaming it on the other person for the collapse of the marriage? And at the end of the day, it's who they are that attracted who came into their life. The spiritual world, things are created spiritually first before they're created materially. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about the process of creating financial abundance, financial prosperity. And it has to do more with what's happening inside of your mind and your body than what you do, and I'm air quoting, what you do in the world. It has more to do with who you are than the actions you take. The actions you take are definitely required. Don't get me wrong. There's inspired action that's required to unlock and to make this spiritual material, but it's the spiritual work that is the creative mechanism, not just the actions that unlock the result of that spiritual work. So there is and I'm not the only person. If I'm going to give you some reference material, Harv Eker, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, any work by Stuart Wilde, I love that. There's a book called Happy Money by Ken Honda. I've learned this from so many great authors and teachers, and other books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and Being Your Future Self Now, Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich. Guys, these books all say the same exact thing. They just say them differently. Okay. Now, on other episodes, I've talked about my Sacred Seven. I've talked about my Sacred Seven books that I hold up at every event that I have, and I say, I've studied these books, and I don't just read them. I've studied them. And I'm going to give you the secrets that are inside of those books in the Mike Kitco, as my wife calls them, my wife Angie calls them, the Mike Kitco Cliffs Notes. I'm going to give those books, the results and what's inside of those books in just like a 20, 25-minute episode. But listen, what they all say is that your outcomes are created spiritually way before you see them materially. Now, I want to go back to 2016 when I started doing this work. And I started way before the Inner Wealth podcast, way before the podcast was called Lead, Love, Profit, Play, way before I had a mastermind. I was making a transition from corporate executive into the coach, speaker, author space. I was making that transition. And this is before I even had a single client. I started reading some of these books. And when all of these books start to teach you is to sit in a meditative state, get your body into a relaxing, restful position, and in your mind's eye, start to see the outcome that you are looking to create. So, and then after, before I explain, and then after you see the result and you sit with the result in your mind's eye that you're looking to create, you drop down into your body and you begin to feel like that outcome has already been created in your life. And what this does is it gets your mind and your body into a mode where it starts to rewire itself as if that outcome is already true in your life. By visualizing the outcome that you're looking to create and by feeling that it has already been created, your body starts to rewire itself to accept, to receive that outcome. And your body, your neural pathways start to rewire and refire and realign themselves and dig grooves, habitual grooves into, along new neural pathways. Your emotions start to shift. Your body chemistry literally starts to rewire itself because your mind and your body don't know what's true or not. It just knows what you've constantly fed it. And what you've constantly fed it has created the expectations and the beliefs of what you see in your life. When I was making the transition, I had zero income. I had zero clients. I had zero hope at that point of getting out of that situation without getting a job, because my mind and my body was just looking for a job, because that's all my mind and body had ever done before was look for a job. And that's all my mind and body knew what to do. Is my mind and body were wired, programmed, conditioned to seek out a job as a source of income. So my mind and body, I could watch it obsess over finding a job. Now, to most people are like, of course, you had no income. Of course, you're going to look for a job. But an entrepreneur, someone who's in the entrepreneurial space, who's not wired to look for a job, when they're in that situation, their mind and body are wired to say, hey, let's look for a source of income, not a job. There's a big difference. But my mind and body were literally wired to look for a job and seek out a job and obsess over a job, not a source of income, a job. So as I started doing this work and studying these books and started doing this meditative work, I set a really, what seemed like a stretch goal at that time. It seemed so far out. I set a goal of 10 clients, 10K in a coaching practice. I wanted 10 clients, 10 one-on-one clients to pay me $1,000 a month in order to work one-on-one with them, to start to work them through their mental, their emotional, their spiritual limitations, their lack of self-worth, their lack of self-love, their lack of self-esteem. And what I did is I was attuned to working with corporate executives and executive leaders, but I was looking for executive leaders that were looking to overcome the imposter syndrome, because I was overcoming the imposter syndrome. And as I was overcoming the imposter syndrome, I could start to teach people how to overcome the imposter syndrome. So that's what I was looking for. 10 clients, $10,000 a month, recurring revenue, to teach people how to start to heal and resolve the imposter syndrome. Now, I'm world class at that. I can do that like nobody's business. It's not even effort for me. But when I sat down in that meditative state and I thought about 10 clients, 10K, it seemed so far away. It seemed so impossible. It seemed so improbable. But that was because of the wiring in my mind and my unconscious and the habitual chemicals patterns that my body was used to. Now, as I sat in this meditative state and I kept seeing and visualizing and feeling that I had 10 clients and 10K coming just on repeat, and I had $10,000 of recurring revenue. I was shooting really, really low. $10,000 of recurring revenue coming in. As over time, I would like the first time I sat down to do it, my mind was like, "You're fucking lying. Who are you lying to? We don't have that." And as I did this work over time, that gap, that psychological distance to the 10 clients, $10,000, that psychological distance closed. And after a while, it felt so freaking normal. I could just drop into 10 clients, $10,000 a state to see it in my mind, to visualize what my life would look like with 10 clients in my coaching practice, to feel that I was working with 10 clients, to feel that I had $10,000 of recurring revenue. I could think, I could feel, I could believe, I actually could easily see a life, Mike Kitco with a life where that was reality. And when that happened, before you know it, I had 16 clients and in excess of $10,000. Because it was that psychological distance that was keeping me from having that. As I closed that psychological distance, that became reality. Now, I would get an email saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm interested," and I had to follow up on that action. I would get a call, and I had to take that call. I would get a referral. I would meet somebody networking, and they would ask, "Hey, you want to have a follow-up meeting?" And I would say yes. So it's not like they just didn't show up and money just started showing up in my bank account. I did have to respond, and I did have to act on what was showing up in my life. But as I felt and believed and thought and perceived life as that was a reality, then opportunity started showing up for me to respond to. And before I believed it was possible, when that psychological distance was profound, then no opportunities were showing up. But as that psychological distance shrunk, and as that future 10 clients, 10K, started to feel more real, more possible, more probable, more likely, as I started to believe that that was even possible for me, then opportunities showed up for me to start responding to. I hope that's making sense. This is what I mean when I say outcomes are created spiritually way before they're created materially. And if you believe something is impossible, it is for you. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It means it's impossible for you. But someone who believes that it's possible, whatever it is possible for them. And if you believe that you can have $1 million coming in the door, if you believe that you can be a millionaire, if you can believe that you can be a 10 millionaire, 10 times millionaire, if you believe that you can have $1 million of income coming in every year, then you're going to start getting opportunities. Life is going to start providing opportunities for you to make that reality. But if you don't believe that that's possible, if you don't believe that that's likely in your life, those opportunities are not going to be there, because spiritually, you haven't been able to create that reality inside of you, because the reality is created inside of you long before it's created outside of you. And this is what Think and Grow Rich and the science of getting rich and As a Man Thinketh and The Strangest Secret. That's what they all say. Happy Money. Anything by Stuart Wilde. I love Stuart Wilde. Anything by these guys. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Your outcomes are created spiritually long before they're created materially. And you attract into your life who you are, not what you want. When I went to Joe Dispenza meditations or Joe Dispenza advanced workshops, he frames it like this: your thoughts are the prayers, and your emotions, what you feel is real. That's the tractor beam. That's the magnet that's pulling opportunities and pulling outcomes and pulling experiences and pulling realities into your material reality. The thoughts are the prayers, and your emotions, that's your tractor beam. That's what's pulling things into your life. You get who you are, not what you want. You've got to change the spiritual world before you can change the material world. When you look at someone who's created, I work with people that have created, I'm a business set of partners that I work with. They've created $47 million in cash flowing real estate. Inside of them, they believed long before they created $47 million, long before they believed that they would. And that's why it's now material reality. And now we're just working on creating that next level of performance, closing that psychological distance. And as you close the psychological distance, the opportunities show up to prove that your spiritual world, what's spiritually real inside of you, is real materially. In The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, he talks about a financial set point, that everyone has a financial set point. And if you look at your financial life, you might look and see a pattern where maybe you've been stuck at a certain level of income or net worth or profitability over a period of time. And in business, sometimes in businesses, I see sales lines grow in people's business, but as their sales lines grow, so do their expenses. And as their expenses grow, then they keep getting the same level of profitability because their set point is set to that level of profitability. And sometimes it's in the level of income. Sometimes with people who are employed, maybe they stay within a certain range because that's their financial set point. Or maybe sometimes it's in people's savings, that as their income grows, their personal income grows, their personal expenses grow, and as their personal expenses grow, they're still living in survival mode month to month because their financial set point is set for survival mode. Because your spiritual reality creates your material reality. And whatever you believe is true for you. Whatever you believe is possible for you. Whatever you believe is impossible for you. And this is true in religion. This is true in finances. This is true in relationships. This is true in every sense of the word. Your inner state creates your outer state. Your inner world creates your outer world. Your spiritual state creates your material state. Don't blame it on anyone else. When someone in this world is unhappy, I don't want them teaching me happiness, because all they're doing is teaching me how to think, feel, act, and believe like them. And I don't want anything to do with that. Someone who's in a shitty relationship, don't take advice from somebody in a shitty relationship about relationships, because they'll just teach you what they're thinking, what they're believing, how they perceive relationships. They'll teach you that. And that's what's got them into a shitty relationship state. Financially, don't let somebody who's broke or who's struggling financially teach you anything about money, because they're just going to pass off their money beliefs. They're just going to pass off their money perspectives. And their spiritual state has created their material state. Trust me, if somebody is struggling in any dimension, you don't want their spiritual state, because their spiritual state created their material state. Now listen, I'll go back to the 3-step process. the creation process for creating any outcome you want in your life. Get really clear about what you want, become certain that you can have it, and remain committed to the process until it materializes. And don't make this is a simple, sometimes not easy process to comprehend and to employ, to deploy. But you've got to get clear about what it is you want. And I was super hyper clear that I wanted 10 clients, 10K. And when I got super hyper focused and clear on that, I did the meditative work required to spiritually make that true, which was to visualize 10 clients, 10K, to feel that 10 clients and 10K was possible, was probable, was likely, was real in my life. And as that psychological distance closed, I felt a sense of certainty, like that was my already reality. And then when I got really committed, when I stayed and remained committed, opportunities showed up. I took advantage of the opportunities in an inspired way. I remained patient in the process. And as things built, I just kept receiving. And that is the creation process: clarity, certainty, and commitment. But don't mistake this for overly mystical, for overly like freaking woo. It is how you have created materially up to this point. When you believe something is possible, when you believe something is probable, when you expect something to happen, it will, if you remain committed to the process. If you expect shitty things to happen, trust me, you're inviting, they will. If you feel like things are on the verge of collapse, it's just a matter of time they're on the verge of collapse. But if you feel that there's a financial breakthrough and you feel there's a possibility for doubling your income, for doubling your net worth, if you believe that that's possible, if you believe that that's probable, if you believe it's already reality, then it's just a matter of time before it shows up. But the opportunities will show up for you to take inspired action to, for you to say yes to, so that you can step into those new results, into that new material reality. When I'm going to challenge you as we wrap this episode up, I'm going to challenge you to look at where your net worth is right now. Now, I want you to pick a higher net worth, and I want you to pick a higher net worth that not that seems completely improbable. Okay, if you have a $5 million net worth, I don't want you to pick 5 billion. Okay, but maybe if you have a $5 million net worth, maybe you pick 10 million. Okay, if you have $1 million net worth, maybe you pick 5, maybe you pick 10. If you have $100,000 net worth, maybe you pick 500,000. But pick something that feels that you could it doesn't seem that far away, but it still feels like it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time to get there. And I want you to sit in a meditative state, get really clear about what that number is and what your life would look like if that number were already true. And I want you to sit in a meditative state, bringing your body and your mind and your body to a state of relaxation. Begin to visualize in that area. Close your eyes. Begin to visualize in that area between your two eyes what that would look like if that number were already true. Start to feel what your life would feel like if that number were already true. And I want you out of the box, out of the chute, I want you to feel the resistance that your body has to it. That's the psychological distance. I want you to feel the resistance. I want you to feel the reaction that your body naturally has to that. Like, that's not possible. It's improbable. That's not going to happen. Your body will show you the resistance that you have to it and why that number is not already true. And this is the certainty work. As you visualize and as you feel the results are already true, your body will begin to rewire itself. That psychological distance will begin and continue to close. And if you remain committed to this, as that psychological distance closed, the reality inside of you will begin to accept and shift and change. Like that situation is already true, becoming your future self now. That's what becoming your future self now is all about. That future reality is already true right now. And when you remain committed and you do this work every single day, you will begin to see opportunities show up to allow you to step into those new circumstances. And all you have to do is remain committed, take inspired action, and say yes when it shows up. Listen, you can go to my website, innerwealthglobal.com, and I've got a meditation package on the products page. And in that meditation package, I sell it for $34.97. And right now there are 4 meditations in there. And every time I add a new meditation, I just put it into that package. So it's a one-time fee for $34.97. You go in there and you buy it, and it's evergreen. Every time I add another one, you just get another one. I started this when there was 2 in there, and I keep adding meditations. Go grab that package. That will help. There's a meditation in there called Installing Future You, and it will help you with this clarity, certainty, and commitment process. It will help you specifically with the certainty. The clarity and the commitment are up to you. Listen, I hope this is helpful. I also have 2 workshops coming up over the next couple months. I've got a workshop called Destination Millionaire Mindset coming up in New Orleans, Louisiana, June 8th and 9th. It's in New Orleans, Louisiana, 2 days. My whole team's going to fly down there. We're all going to be there. And this is the exact work that we're going to be doing. Getting clear about what you want. I'm going to teach you the meditative practice and do the certainty work. And I'm going to teach you what commitment is and what commitment isn't. We're also going to do that same exact workshop October 25th and 26th in St. Louis, Missouri. Same exact workshop. Destination Millionaire Mindset, clarity, certainty, and commitment. Teach you the meditative practice. I will be leading live meditation within those 2 days, and I will teach you this work. But this is the work. This is the spiritual work that makes your spiritual reality material. And don't ever mistake. Your outcomes are always created inside of you before they're created outside of you. Guys, I hope this is helpful. Go grab that meditation package. I'll also put the link to it in the liner notes. Go grab that. Let's get after this thing, man. Let's really up level and we got 7 more months in 2024. Let's get after creating some new circumstances in your health, and your wealth, and the impact that you have in the world and your relationships. And this is the work that moves mountains. Whatever is true inside of you becomes true outside of you. You always see the results of what's already taken place inside of you. Only every single time.